this time we will take another example of iCue and take it to the next level of incident investigation. How do you do an incident investigation using the iCue method? What you see on this screen in front of you is precisely the same as what you see on a whiteboard. So what we have is four quadrants. The top two quadrants will take the space of workspace, which is all the physical words. The bottom left quadrant will take the psychological words, and the bottom right quadrant will take all the cultural words, or as we call them, the group space words. And herein what you see is one brain, three minds, which is at the center of everything that we do. So on the left hand side, in the workspace quadrants, you will see all the positive words. On the right hand side, you will see all the negative words. So let's take an incident and see how we can understand it using the iCue method. Now, this incident is about a contractor coming on a drilling rig, and he goes on the drilling rig. He opens the wrong manhole, and he inhales toxic gases, and he feels dizzy. And we are trying to understand how we got to this stage, right? So let's bring the workspace, headspace, and group space words and try to link between them. So what you see here is a contractor who comes to do hot work in a tank. He arrives near the tank. He opens the wrong manhole. He smells toxic gas and he feels dizzy. So as you can see, all the positive words in the workspace are on the left hand side. On the negative words are on the right hand side. Now, we interview the contractor, we interview the safety officer, and we interview the two able seamen who were supposed to assist the contractor, and see what we get from them. So when we interview the contractor to ask him, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about what happened on that day? And he tells us that he came on board. He said he did, it was just standard stuff for him. Nobody asked any questions, and he just got on with his work. The safety officer says that he conducted a risk assessment. He checked the paperwork of the contractor, right? And he said everything looked good. He also said that he was very experienced. The contractor was very experienced. So that was the psychological impact that the contractor had made on him, that he appeared very confident. Now, the safety officer also said that the welder was on leave. The welder on this rig was on leave. So the job was already deferred for 2 months. So we had to get the job done. So you can see that this is a cultural expression, that you have to get the job done. You have to get the stuff done. And as you get better at listening, you know exactly which words will sit in which quadrant. So you are, apart from incident investigation, it actually improves your listening and observation skills really, really well. And this is the bit that takes a little bit of time and training. The safety officer then then we interviewed the two able seamen who said that the contractor appeared very confident. He appeared very confident. Again, he's giving a very psychological impression that he is somebody who knows his stuff well. And then they said, the able seamen, that we were just following the instructions, right? So tells you something about the culture of this workplace, right? That people don't question, they just follow the instructions. We then did some coding on this. Coding means we try to analyze. Now that we have a narrative of the accident or the incident, we know what each person said. Now we try to code this, analyze this to see what sense do we make of this story. Now, when somebody says that he appeared very confident or he was very experienced, what they're telling us is that they felt he was like an expert, and nobody challenges the experts. That's a big problem in many cultures, that we don't challenge people who know the job too well. What we also come to here is that the job is deferred for 2 months, and the welder was on leave. So obviously this was not a routine job for them, for a contractor to come on the rig. It was a non-routine job. It was not something that would happen each day, that they would call a contractor to do this kind of work. It also says that the contractor also says that he was doing standard stuff and nobody asked any questions. So that means that in this culture, there is no questioning, no dissent, no questioning. Nobody asks any questions. Nobody raises his hand. We see the same thing with the able seaman who says that we were just following the instructions. So there was no questioning, there's no dissent. So as you can see that we are spending a lot more time in the psychological space and the cultural space and trying to understand this incident, which we never do in typical accident investigations. And what that is telling us is this is how people are making decisions, which we never come to understand in these top two spaces. So you can see already that we are trying to push the conversation down, and that is helping us to understand so much more better why an incident or an accident happens. We don't see that in typical investigations. We then try to look for the trade-offs in the decision, like where are people faced with choices, where do they have conflicts, and how do they resolve those conflicts. So as we can see here that job was deferred for 2 months, so obviously they had to get the job done. So there's a conflict here. You cannot defer the job for too long. You have to get it done, and that's why you call a contractor, right? The other thing we see is that the safety officer says that he carried out a risk assessment, an online induction, and the permit to work. But the question to ask is that if this is a non-routine job, is that enough? Or should you do more than just an online induction, right? So it tells us that maybe there was something more to be done rather than just an online induction. Something is not right here, that you're calling a contractor for a non-routine operation and you are just doing an online induction with that person. Something is not right here, right? So what iCue does is it helps us understand where are the conflicts and where are the trade-offs in the accident investigation. We then move into gifts. What gifts were offered to us? What that means is, in this incident investigation, what things came across to us that we were not expecting? Now that is very different from a typical accident investigation where we expect an answer to our questions. In iCue, it's not so much about the question that we are asking. It's really about what the other person is trying to tell us, and we value that a lot. So this is marked with a G, which means it's a gift that somebody has given us in an interview. So a gift is he appeared very confident, he was very experienced. So this persons are trying to tell us something. And if we are not culturally intelligent, if we are not psychologically intelligent, we will lose these cues and we will keep fighting in this area. Why was the manhole kept open? Why wasn't it marked properly? Who's responsible for it? And we spend all our time in this area. But here we become so much more culturally intelligent. Standard stuff. What does that mean? What does that even mean when somebody uses the word standard stuff? And we try to pay attention that this person what kind of a culture has he come from that he sees everything as standard stuff? What does this tell us about the contractor's culture? We also see the culture on board this rig where they say the emphasis is on get the job done. Get the job done. So the whole idea is it's not about safety. It's not about risk assessment. It's not about asking the right questions. It's about getting the job done. So once a job is deferred for 2 months, it has to be done at every cost. That is also telling us something very important about the culture of this place. The last thing we do is we try to see where are the positive, negatives, and neutral conversations. So for example, in this instance, a contractor goes to do a hot work in a tank, arrives near the tank, opens the manhole and smells toxic gas and feels dizzy. So it's a very neutral conversation. It is what it is. It's not as if we are trying to prove something wrong or right. It's what we see as it is. Somebody sees a tree outside and says it's a tree. Somebody says, I'm very sad looking at this tree outside. That is a negative value here. So it's what it is. Same thing here. The able seaman says that the contractor appeared very confident. So people are telling you what they see. And the idea of putting values like equal, negative, and positive is that we start to see what is the mood of this conversation. Are people feeling down as they are being interviewed? Are they feeling positive, or are they just giving you the facts? And what this tells us is that most of the conversations in this incident that we have had is all about neutral conversations. So sometimes what happens, there are people who are facing mental health issues, they are sad, they're depressed, they're very negative about something, and the whiteboard will show you that. It will show you that a lot of conversations are going in the negative space. Sometimes people are far too positive. Everything they want to talk about is positive. They don't want to talk about anything negative. And that tells you also sometimes that they're trying to hide something from you. So by putting values to these things, you can start to see what is the mood of the conversation. I'm not going to go into temperament and culture because that's the advanced level of iCue, but let's see what is the end result of this investigation. And the end result of this investigation is that an induction and familiarization program has led to a situation where a contractor comes on board from a different culture. He just is allowed to get on with his work. He's been asked no questions. He's been given no specific induction. And people who are assigned to help him are just following him. So there is something not right with the culture of this rig, of this space. And unless we get the culture right, unless we make induction and familiarization program really work, nothing is going to change. Tomorrow another contractor will come, he will have the same issue. Maybe something worse might happen because this rig does not have a culture where induction and familiarization is taken seriously by people. That's all I wanted to leave you with. I hope you liked it. It's if you want to know more about it, you can always get in touch with me on our website novellas.solutions, and I would be more than happy to help you. My name is Nipin, by the way, and I'm the founder of Novellas Solutions.